Welcome to this evening's Muskogee Municipal League meeting, November the 9th, 2015. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bob Coburn.
Here.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Here.
Dan Hall.
Present.
Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Janie Boydston.
Here.
Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Leanne Langston.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Derek Reed.
Here.
We are accounted for. Regular agenda item number 1.
Consider approval of the Muskogee Municipal Authority minutes of October 12, 2015.
We will now consider those. Are there additions or corrections?
Move for approval.
Second that.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Leanne Langston. Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 2.
Consider approval of MMA claims for the month ending October 31st, 2015.
Mr. Brown.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. I'm requesting that you approve the MMA claims for the month of October ending October 31st.
Okay.
Move for approval.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Leanne Langston.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. That concludes our agenda for the Muskogee Municipal Authority. We'll now go to our City Council agenda, and the invocation tonight would be by Deputy Mayor James Gully, and then we'll have a flag salute following.
Let us pray, Father. Father, thank you for bringing this council together. Father, we're looking forward to the elections that are fixing to start. I ask for your blessings for all the candidates as they go forward, because we know how much effort it is and time-consuming it is to serve on this council. So bless all those who volunteer their time going forward, Father. And Father, be protective of all of our soldiers as they protect our freedoms and the freedoms of other people. And sometimes those people do not understand why we're there, even though we're trying to help them so much, Father. Father, we just bless all of our past veterans and give healing for those who have been physically and mentally injured, Father. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the flag salute. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Bob Coburn.
Here.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Here.
Dan Hall.
Here.
Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Janie Boydston.
Here.
Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Leanne Langston.
Here.
Ivory Van. Derek Reed.
Here.
We'll now consider minutes from 2 meetings, from October 26th, the regular meeting, and then from the special call on November the 3rd. Is there additions or corrections?
Move for approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Leanne Langston.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. Motion carries. We've got a scout troop.
Yeah.
Who's the scout troop that's joining us? We're here for a merit badge. Oh, okay.
We don't have any.
We don't have any merit badges, but we'll let you earn them. All right. I hope
So
we won't
sorry.
make it too difficult.
You poor children.
We'll now consider the consent agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to move to regular agenda?
I'd like to request item 5 be moved to regular agenda.
And number 7.
And number 7, 5 and 7.
Move for approval with the exceptions of item 5 and item 7.
Okay.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Leanne Langston.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 5.
Consider approval of a project plan to upgrade the camera system in the council chambers to broadcast high-definition television and authorizing expenditures for the plan in an amount not to exceed $30,000 or take other necessary action.
Mr. Cummings, and was there any specific question on this?
Really, it was brought up at the last meeting. It was kind of at the very end when it was discussed that it wasn't under your budget, Chris, and then that it was stated that it was under capital improvements, and then it was further stated what would happen if, this wasn't done, and it wouldn't be any problem if it wasn't done at this time. As I look over the budget and where our concern is right now, I'd recommend that we table this at this time because our current budget concerns and where we're at.
Okay?
So I'd make a motion that we table this at this time.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Do we need to be specific, Mr. BC, if we table it for any specific period of time or just indefinitely?
It's council's
Discretion?
choice.
Okay. Do you want to put a specific time on it?
I don't know that I would put a specific time on it until we see budget turn around. I mean, I don't know that I could put a time frame on it.
Okay.
With it being an unbudgeted item, and I really didn't, at the very end of it, we discovered that it was really an unbudgeted item. I know it's out of capital improvements, but it was an unbudgeted item. With us seeing the budget numbers we're at and the concerns that I have for budget, I just don't see making that expenditure at this time until we see the budget numbers turn around. So, I would say at least we reconsider it maybe in about 6 months.
Okay, so you'll just see that it gets brought back up
Yeah,
or whatever?
6 months.
Okay.
Plus, I don't think the people really want to see us in high definition.
Give me some specific reason you think that.
Oh, yeah, we're not very pretty up here. I'm just saying.
If I have to see you
It
in
kind of
real
starts
life-
over in that corner over there, but
Careful, Dan.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further comment or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully?
Yes.
Janie Boydston? Yes. Marlon Coleman?
Yes.
Wayne Johnson?
Yes.
Leanne Langston? Ivory Van?
Yes.
Derek Reed?
Yes.
Dan Hall?
yes.
Mayor Coburn?
Yes, motion carries. Item number 7.
Consider approval of Amendment Number 5 to the Agreement for Engineering Services for the 24th Street improvements from Muskogee Avenue to Shawnee Bypass and the Martin Luther King improvements from 12th Street to 24th Street, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart?
Yeah, we asked to have this moved to regular agenda because if you'll remember, when we talked about this last week, I said I would have a representative from Garver here to actually go over the project. So I've asked Michael Wintersheet, who is our project engineer on the Martin Luther King project and the 24th Street project, to come, and he's prepared a quick PowerPoint to address the need for the change order. And if you remember, that was for some additional survey services.
Okay.
And for the Tiger Grant work that they did, and also for some additional fees to cover the change order in contract time on Martin Luther King. I will ask council before we get started, there are 2 items on the agenda tonight. This one, which speaks more specifically to 24th, and then we've got a change order on item number 12 that really addresses Martin Luther King. So if we could keep our questions specific to 24th, and then we'll address Martin Luther King under item number 12.
Right.
Michael Wintersheet's our project engineer. Again, we did explain this to you, but he's going to go through it, kind of discuss the timing of the project and where we are on it. This is on the 24th Street, the improvements from Muskogee to Shawnee Bypass. Michael, if you would mind, please.
Thank you for your time. Please interrupt me at any time with any questions that you may have. We're here to discuss the 24th Street project, as Mike mentioned. I'll give you a brief project status overview of where we're at right now. Preliminary plans have been turned in on the project, and we've received review comments back from the city on that. We are in the final design process. I know this chart showing up here is really hard to read. So I'll kind of hit some key dates that we've summarized below. The one thing we're lacking to move forward on our final design is some additional survey. Because of the storm sewer design that is taking place on 24th Street, there's 3 key points that we need to outfall and discharge that storm sewer into the existing drainage ditches to drain the street. The existing ditches are really shallow. And once we started our design, we found out that the design of that storm sewer was too deep and we couldn't discharge into those existing ditches. And so we needed to get additional survey down those roads and ditches to see where we can finalize our design. So that's the one thing that we're really lacking on moving forward with our final design plans. Once we get that additional survey, we can check our storm sewer design, check our right-of-way that's needed for the project, write any appropriate legal descriptions, and start the right-of-way acquisition. We're hoping with the additional survey and getting those legal descriptions written that we can start the acquisition process in January of 2016. Pinnacle is on contract to do the acquisition for this, and they're estimating that it'll take about 9 months to complete the right-of-way acquisition. That's somewhat of a ballpark. We're hoping we can do better than that, but that's a general ballpark number that they provided me, about 9 months. After that right-of-way acquisition is complete, we can move forward with the utility relocations necessary for the project. Based on the utilities in the area, we really can't turn dirt on the street project until those utilities are relocated. Oklahoma Natural Gas has a number of different lines within the 24th Street corridor located on both sides of the roadway. With this project, we're updating and constructing a brand new water line for 24th Street. And we can't do that or any storm sewer until ONG has relocated their utilities. So building in some utility relocation time, we're really anticipating that construction can start on the roadway in spring of 2017. Now, I really hope that this is a worst-case scenario. I was speaking with Mike earlier tonight. We really should be able to start turning dirt on utility relocations early next year. Basically, once the Martin Luther King project is done with construction, we can start getting utilities moved for this. The hope is that once we can get this additional survey, finalize our design, that we can verify that maybe the right-of-way acquisition isn't needed for the utility relocations, and we can actually start utilities before the right-of-way is acquired. If the right-of-way is only acquired for like sidewalk ramps or some of the street grading, then we can go ahead and get utilities moving while the right-of-way acquisition is going on. But again, hopefully this is a worst-case scenario, so I wanted to give you an update on that, kind of where we're at. Moving forward specifically to this amendment that Mike mentioned, it's mainly additional survey requirements plus some of those other small items that he mentioned, but I'll kind of touch on the survey here. There's a number of different places that are storm sewer discharges that we needed that additional survey. One is on Caddo Street, another on the Muskogee Trail, one on Military. On Caddo, we don't really have a good place to discharge. We're hoping to run the storm sewer down to 25th and tie into the existing storm sewer there, but we don't have any survey on Caddo or that existing storm sewer system that far west. So we need to get some additional survey there, as well as down the old railroad, the trail system going east off of 24th, looking at some of those existing ditches and where we can discharge our storm sewer. Same thing up on Military, going east down Military about 500 feet, trying to get some additional survey on those ditches. And one of the last survey items is the addition of a bus stop that's going to be located in front of, which structure is that? Social Security, yes. Off of the frontage road up there on Shawnee Bypass. We don't have any survey that far west. Based on the slopes of some of the surrounding area, it's going to be very difficult to meet ADA requirements, so we want some more detailed survey to make sure we can design that appropriately and meet all ADA requirements. That's all I had in case you have any questions.
Again, our goal has always been to wrap the Martin Luther King project up and hopefully step right into the 24th Street project. In the best case scenario, that's what we're going to end up doing. We're going to be over there doing that utility work, which is the start of the project. And then, of course, the utility aspect of it, which is the water line and any storm sewer work that might need to be, and then right on into the road project. The project is moving along. It does have some issues, but we're working through them. And Michael Wintersheet, our project engineer, has been diligent with us in answering our questions and giving us the information we need. So we do recommend approval of this amendment.
Move for approval.
Been a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Has the 24th Street project gone out for bid yet?
No, and that's what we're saying. It will probably be soon after we can get these final designs in that we will get it out to bid.
Thank you.
Any more comments? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Leanne Langston. Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 10.
Consider approval of an ordinance amending the City of Muskogee Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 18, Buildings and Building Regulations, Article 3, Building Code and Regulations, Division 2, Building Code, Section 18-180, amendments to the International Building Code, and Section 18-184, amendments to the International Property Maintenance Code, amending Chapter 42, Fire Prevention and Protection, Article 2, Fire Prevention Code, Section 42-21, amendments to the International Fire Code, requiring roof hatch access to all commercial buildings, regardless of number of stories, providing for repealer severability, and declaring an emergency.
Chief Tatum.
Mayor, council, before you is a proposed ordinance to help clarify roof hatches for commercial buildings 1, 2, and 3 stories. Within the IFC, the IBC, and the IMC, that is a very vague topic. Even a code council has problems explaining that chapter. So as authority having jurisdiction, what we're asking is this ordinance. If a architect or contractor selects a roof hatch out of several different options, all we're asking for is that roof hatch be 16 square feet or a 4x4 or larger. Could I answer any questions?
Move for approval.
When you're talking about a roof hatch being 16 by 16 square feet?
No,
Or in-
16 total square feet, 4x4.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
I got that answered
Okay.
earlier.
All right. Move for approval.
We've already got a motion.
Second.
Don't we? You want a second? Okay. Any other comments or questions? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Leanne Langston.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 11.
Emergency.
Whoops.
Move for the emergency.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion regarding the emergency? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Leanne Langston.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes, please.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 11.
Consider approval to authorize the city manager to negotiate a renewal of the professional services agreement with Neighbors Building Neighborhoods for management of the Martin Luther King Jr. Center, and further directing that the agreement automatically renew for additional 1-year terms unless either party provides 90-day notice of non-renewal or take other necessary action.
Mr. Brown.
Yeah, this is just permission to authorize a contract with Neighbors Building Neighbors.
Move for approval.
I have a question.
I do too.
I notice on here that it's the RFP. Talk to me about the scope of that RFP.
Well, the scope, what we would do is, if we got to a point where we were going to do an RFP, we would work with the facilities board to generate the scope and move it forward to the city council for approval.
Who decides if it needs to move to the RFP part of this?
Well, once we get into the new building, if things are not going, as planned or properly, then we'll look at that solution. Right now, this gives Neighbors Building Neighbors a chance to operate the new Martin Luther King Community Center.
Who decides that it's not working out right?
Well, I mean, myself, staff, if things are not working operationally, then we would have to look at a private solution or another solution. So we want to have the flexibility at a later date to go forward if we need to.
I like to remove the flexibility out of that. I don't like that. I like to leave it under Neighbors Building Neighbors, and then I'd like to see it come back to us and discuss that with us. I don't want to just leave it open like that. I don't like open-ended stuff anymore around here.
Yes. Your pleasure.
I have a problem with the end date being June of 2016. I mean, when are we supposed to get into the Martin Luther King Community Center?
Well, the estimated completion date is March 2016. Their contract expired on June 30th of 2015, and what we're asking is that their contract be extended and allow me to negotiate a contract that will look at several items, negotiating delineated service agreement to operate the actual new facility. And in this particular one, based on, I guess, conversation we had last week, the city attorneys also added some language for it for an additional 1-year term unless we put a 90-day notice in there to look at it. So,
I guess, and
I
I,
would be comfortable giving, I'm sorry, that's
Go
just
ahead.
2 months, 2-3 months max. I don't think that's fair to anybody. I would really like to see at least a full year cycle. And since we're going back to July 1, I think we need to go another year.
well, it's
Just
just
not
based.
giving them much time.
Yeah, this is
to
just based
do
on
anything.
what we discussed last week. I mean,
Yeah.
if you
I
want to,
wasn't
if you
here, and
want
I
to.
apologize, but
It's okay.
I feel real strongly about the fact that they need more than 2 or 3 months to do anything. I mean, there's going to be a lot of just moving in and trying to, get things set up and get programming started and everything. I'd like to see at least 1 year plus the time between when now and the June 30th of next year.
No problem.
well, and I kind of agree with her on that. I got to reading this and I looked at that and it just didn't seem like they were having enough time to prove themselves. Plus, I am very much against giving anybody else reign over city property and management of it. Like I said, when we did the sports facility area, can I speak to that? I said a year. The management of the civic center, a year. I think that we need to start learning to manage our own city and manage our own facilities and save some of our own money. I mean, we're talking about a budget crunch here. We need to start watching, see if we can find someone to manage our own stuff and watch our own money. I don't like the idea of us even thinking about already. We're looking at giving it to somebody else to manage, and we haven't even let Neighbors Building Neighbors have a chance. And that bothers me because even if I was on the outside looking in, I would have an opinion where it looked like we already have a plan to give it to somebody else, and I don't even want that to be a suggestion. I don't want that to be a stress on the people trying to run this place. I want them to be able to do what it was meant to do, and that's service our community.
I made a motion to approve, and my motion to approve was based off of what the conversation was out of Public Works, that we would do a continuation of the existing contract with an additional year based on the 90 days out clause.
And Mr. BC, I was going along the lines of what Councilor Johnson just said. The motion that we made on last week, I think pretty much took care of a lot of the conversation without the year part. Is that correct?
Yes, last week what we did, and this is why it came back on regular agenda, is it was modified to allow an automatically renewing contract. So if nothing happens, the contract will go on indeterminately, and it provided for 90 days. Either side would have to give at least 90 days prior to the expiration of the year as a way, based on what council has indicated, to give you time as council to review if we gave notice to vacate the contract, or if the other side did, to address that as necessary.
I mean, I'm sure Councilor Johnson and I are in agreement that we just want the same spirit of last week to be addressed in this week's motion.
And that, as long as we're moving to approve as it's written, that does take care of what council had requested.
I'll second that then, if it didn't already get a second.
Is
Could you
there-
read the motion for me, Matt, if you don't?
Sorry, I don't have.
And do you have a?
It's basically approved as presented.
Well, I mean, we're basically approving item.
Yes.
Whatever.
Item
10,
11 as stated.
10, 11, yeah, as stated then.
I don't think anyone made any modifications to it in
No.
their motion.
Just before we vote on this, because I understand what they're saying, I just want to make sure in 90 days, if if we decide that we don't like Neighbors Building Neighbors, someone can't just tell them they're out. We give you a 90-day deal. It's got to come back before City Council before that's approved, right?
Correct. You're authorizing the manager to negotiate the contract, but this is a contract with council. Therefore, council would have the say.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to bring all of it back to the council, guys. I mean, it's not something we make a decision.
But you are authorizing Mr. Brown to negotiate the terms of the contract. What you've specifically said he's got to include is the automatic renewal clause and the 90-day clause.
Okay. Motion and a second. Any other comments?
Just making sure.
Okay. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Leanne Langston.
Yes.
Harvey Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Abstain due to my employment with Neighbors Building Neighborhoods.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. Item carries. Item number 12, I'm sorry.
Consider approval of change order number 5 to the construction contract with Goodwin and Goodwin Incorporated for the Martin Luther King Street rehabilitation, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart, that's the item you were talking about, wasn't it?
Yeah, the change order that's before you is a continuation, more or less, of the last two that we've had in front of you, where we changed the fabric liner to the Marafi type material. We continue to run into that same issue on that sub base, and Michael is here if you have any questions over the work that is being done with the base material and the absolute need for changing to this Marafi material. We went through that with you before. The change order that we have in front of you now, I want to explain, is a not to exceed amount. Because we don't want to keep coming back up here every time we run into this. But we do know when we put the utilities in, when we put the storm sewer in, and when we were working on the water line, we know that there's some areas out there that are wet, and we're going to have this, that we aren't there yet. So to keep this project moving, and so we're not up here all the time, that's why we wrote it up there with a 5,000 square yard amount and a not to exceed of $80,000. We're hoping that we don't have to have that, but we don't want to have to keep coming back up here. Now, we're not going to put it in unless it's required, and it's required, as you might remember, when we proof roll. So when we put a loaded dump truck out there on that sub base and it doesn't pass, then we have to cut out that bad area. There is also a 30-day extension on this change order, and the reason for that 30 days is when we have to put that Marafi material in, we have to cut out an additional 15 inches of material and replace that. That does take some time when you do that, especially when you're talking about 5,000 square yards. So this extension would extend this price out by $80,000, which brings the total in change orders to $124,000. 10% is allowable under these type projects. This is a $3 million project, so we're well within the amount that we can do on a change order. The 30 days, we've talked with the engineers, the contractors, we're all in agreement that that's an allowable time in our minds to go ahead with this new process. This extends the completion date to February 14th. Right now it's moving rather well out there, but we are going to have this material or some process to continue. They're almost at a point where they're going to have to stop digging because we'll have too much of the area tore up. I will tell you that it doesn't look like a whole lot's being accomplished, although it is, because when this base all gets down, we'll bring out, remember this is an asphalt surface, not concrete, so when we do come in to put the street down, it'll all go down in a couple of days. So you'll see the final product come in a hurry. It's just all this sub-base work now that's taking some time. Councilman Coleman had actually brought up some of the issues with the project itself in the neighborhood in our meeting last week when we were discussing this with our contractor and our engineer. We got into that conversation a little bit, and one of the items that I did not know that the contractor made me aware of is that there's 22 employees on this job site, and out of those 22, 10 of them were local, and those 10 are actually job site local, so they're specifically from that area. I think they're using Michael Taylor, who lives right there on that corner, for their mechanic work. So they are trying to work with the neighborhood even more so now that we've brought these matters to their attention. And I hope that the council is not continuing to get those. And if they are, we'll be glad to go out and address them. But I thought that was a rather interesting point that the contractor has stepped out and tried to work with that neighborhood. So we'd recommend the change order. Again, Michael is here if there's questions specific to why this type of material is needed in change from the fabric that was originally designed. Otherwise, we'd recommend approval.
I have a question. And this is the second time that we've gone back for this type of, third time, okay, thank you, that we've gone back for this type of material. Is there anything else that you anticipate coming up where we might need to do the same thing in this project?
Because we've not, in the years that I've worked for the city, we've not really tore into Martin Luther King. I don't anticipate any. but I really don't know some of the areas that we didn't do utility work in, what's actually underneath that subbase. We're hoping that this will do it. It's an educated guess, but we're hoping. So I don't want to bring back another change order. We want smooth sailing from here on out, and hopefully we'll get that. But no, I don't anticipate any.
Do you think this is something that we need to do, and is it just this part of town where Martin Luther King and 24th intersect, or that we think it's needed? In the next project on 24th Street, we may do some more core drills. Take more samples and maybe even go down even deeper to see. But, the water table has had an effect on this, and with all the water that we had at the first of the year, it's really added to the problem that we have out there. And it's a shelf. It's got different type material in it, and the water passes between the shale levels. So we've just had some different problems that we're working through this year. Hopefully those won't be on 24th Street, but now that we've looked at that, we'll be ready for it before we get that out to bid. Okay, thank you.
So, Mike,
It's always a live and learn world, I guess you might say.
so Mike, you say February 14th. Can we lay asphalt down maybe in February? Will that be a little cold for it, or?
No, the ODOT rules that govern this is what we're using for our asphalt. Actually don't care what time of the year it is. They care about what the ambient temperature is and the surface temperature. And I believe, Michael, it's 54 degrees? 55. So if it's above 55, that's surface temp, then we can lay that asphalt down. And there are some good days usually through that time frame.
Okay.
And again, because it will lay rather quickly, it will only be a couple of days. And we won't lay it if it's not good. If the weather doesn't allow, we won't lay it. We'll be back up here. Although at that point in time, the traffic will be able to use the street rather well, because the base will all be down, the drives and the sidewalks will all be down. We'll just be waiting on that one point. So
Okay.
it won't be as difficult if the weather won't let us.
I appreciate you continuing, Mr. Stewart, to look into that with the contractors on behalf of the residents. And I think that in the long term, they'll appreciate anything that we can do to make certain that that surface is properly laid and that they get a street that they deserve and can be proud of. So I would move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I know Michael Taylor, like you were saying, Mr. Stewart, over there on 24th Street. I mean, not 24th, but Martin Luther King. He does a lot of work on their equipment. And I also have some property over there on 20th Street. And I own a whole block over there, and they went in and filled it in because it was real low and everything. They've done a very good job.
The concerns that council presented to us, and then also the city manager, had us bring that up at the last several updates that we have monthly. And the contractor, he's trying. I'll give him that. He's trying to work with the neighborhood.
Additional comments? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson. Leanne Langston.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed. Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item 13.
Consider approval of an agreement for administration of sales and use tax ordinance of the City of Muskogee and an agreement to engage in compliance activities by the City of Muskogee with the Oklahoma Tax Commission or take other necessary action.
Mr. Matt Beast.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, as you may know, the Oklahoma Tax Commission is charged with collecting sales tax on behalf of municipalities, and the city currently has an agreement with the Oklahoma Tax Commission to execute the same. In 2014, the legislature reduced the amount that OTC could statutorily charge a city for that collection service from 1 to 1.5% down to 0.5%. As such, we need to re-execute the agreement with the Oklahoma Tax Commission, modifying the amount they're allowed to statutorily claim as a service charge to the 0.5%, and that's what this agreement does. Brings us into compliance with the statute, and no other changes were made, and therefore I would recommend approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Leanne Langston.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. Item number 14.
Consider approval of a retainer agreement for professional services for veterinary services, specifically spay or neutering and administration of the rabies vaccine to cats and dogs in the possession of the city, or take other necessary action.
Chief Eskridge.
Mayor, Council, this agreement is done on an annual basis. It's sent to every veterinarian in the city of Muskogee, and it further ensures the transparency of the operations at the animal shelter. Matt Beasy was responsible for constructing this document to ensure the integrity, or to ensure that the process is both open and legal with everything that we do. And I'm going to pass this to Matt and let him go over the document itself.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Mayor, members of council, we did review this agreement. We've had this agreement for a number of years in the past. It needed some cleaning up as far as who's over the department amounts. And we've also made this a continuing agreement, so it will automatically renew unless either party gives 30 days notice. This is sent out to all vets within our area, and all can be a part of the program. And based upon that and no substantial changes, I would recommend approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
With a motion and a second, any comments or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Leanne Langston.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Recognizing citizens that wish to speak, Mr. Van had signed up to speak to us. Name and your address on Holden.
911 East Holden.
Got it.
Got it.
Mayor, I'd like to ask for, and just, I don't want to have to rush this. Could I ask for an extra couple of minutes before I get started?
How much we got? Go ahead, let's see when we get there.
Ivory Van, 911 Holden, Muskogee, Oklahoma. I'm up here tonight to give a thank you, and also I'll give you an invite the council to something we're having Wednesday. First of all, the thank you is we had the Swan Brothers here in Muskogee Saturday night, and we had a good turnout at the Civic Center. And I'm on the advisory board of the Salvation Army. And on behalf of Lieutenant Jason Seabolt and his wife, Chelsea Seabolt, the advisory board and the Women's Auxiliary, I'd like to say thank you to the citizens of Muskogee for coming out and supporting us, because the Salvation Army does a lot of work here in Muskogee during Christmas time all year round. And the money the Swan Brothers raise works here in our community all year round. Another thank you I'd like to thank you is to our city, Mr. Brown, the city manager. What we did was we had 10 tickets. And we went over to the Manhattan building and McEntee's building. And we gave each building 5 tickets. They drew for them. And those senior citizens, I tell you what, they really had a nice time that night. It was really a great event. They appreciated that. So that's why I said I wanted to thank the city of Muskogee for doing that for us, because they definitely appreciate it. And I seen you there, Mayor. I thought you was dancing a little bit, moving your head a little bit.
I wasn't dancing, but I was there. I like the Swan Brothers.
Yeah.
They're good.
They're very good. And like I say, on behalf of the Salvation Army, we just like to thank the city for what y'all do for us in our community. The second thing I would like to mention tonight is, come Wednesday, Dennis Wilhikes, he's been over this project, him and Daryl Brown. And as you know, he's been up here before, and on the Booker T Cemetery. And the Booker T Cemetery, it definitely looks nice now. And we're going to have a ceremony at 1:30 on Veterans Day at the Booker T Cemetery, because the graves out there, we've straightened them. They straightened them up, and they've cleared all a lot of those trees and stuff. And what made that project so good is we had a lot of support from the community, from Councilman Coleman. He came out, and a lot of McCoys came out. I hate to get the name of names because there's so many names I'll forget somebody. And that cemetery, I guarantee you, it looks so great now. And like I said, the ceremony will be at 1:30 this coming Wednesday. And I'm inviting the whole council and the mayor to come out and see. I have to do a presentation. I have to speak a little bit, and Councilman Reed is going to have to speak a little bit at this ceremony. But with the citizens, each Saturday they would meet, and we would all get together, and I passed out food. I've done just a little bit of work, but not much, just passed out food mostly. And it was so many, like the McCoys, the high school kids, they even came out. And all the veterans, a lot of veteran groups, they came out and worked on that cemetery. And also the county, they even came out and worked on that cemetery. So I'm proud of that cemetery now. It looks good. They even spreaded gravel out there on the roads. And like I say, when you work together, it just helps our community. And
let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
The date that Dennis Wilhite had mentioned to me was the next Wednesday. It's this coming Wednesday on the 11th.
Yes, sir. This Wednesday
Okay.
at 1:30.
On Veterans Day.
On Veterans Day. Yeah, you know, but we owe him a gratitude and thank you because, like I say, he pushed it and he pushed it and he got people out and people did definitely work together on this project, and it was a great project to be involved in, and I just, you know, it's good to give people their, you know, their praise. So I'd like to say thank you.
Thank you, sir. Item number 15.
Consider an executive session to discuss and take possible action on the following. A, pursuant to Section 307B4, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss the workers' compensation claim of John David Alexander, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session. B, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss negotiations with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local Number 2465, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session. C, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss negotiations with the Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge Number 95, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session. D, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss negotiations with the International Association of Firefighters, Local Number 57, and if necessary, take appropriate action in an open session.
Now consider a motion regarding executive session.
So moved.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Leanne Langston.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. We'll now consider ourselves in executive session. If you would excuse us, we'll consider ourselves back from executive session. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bob Coburn.
Here.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Here.
Dan Hall.
Here.
Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Janie Boydston. Here. Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Leanne Langston.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Derek Reed.
Here.
Mr. Beast, let's go back to 15, starting at A.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Pursuant to Section 307B4, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, council did convene an executive session to discuss the workers' compensation claim of John David Alexander. And after being fully briefed, I believe a motion is appropriate authorizing settlement with Mr. Alexander in the amount of $32,300.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Leanne Langston.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. Item B.
Pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, council did convene an executive session to discuss negotiations with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local 2465. After being fully briefed, no action is necessary.
Item C.
Pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, council did convene an executive session to discuss the negotiations with the Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge Number 95, and after being fully briefed, I believe no action is necessary.
Item D.
Pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, council did convene an executive session to discuss negotiations with the International Association of Firefighters, Local Number 57, and after being fully briefed, I believe no action is necessary.
Okay. On D item, say it again, Matt. With no necessary action there? On item D?
Oh, it's ready to execute? You can, that's just direction.
Okay. So item D, no action?
No action is necessary.
Okay, that concludes our agenda for this evening's meeting. Thank you for joining us.